go ahead and call the meeting to order from Monday, August the 21st, 2023 at 10 a.m. And if you all would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Let's see. We have approval of the agenda. There's going to be under closed session item. We will not need that today, so that will be stricken. And then we're also going to table item 3 under section E, which is job description proposed changes. That will be tabled to a future meeting.
Motion to approve with the changes noted, sir.
Need a second?
Second.
Got a second? All those, raise your hand, need to approve. Any nay votes, same thing. Motion carries 5-0. Next is motion on the minutes, and there will be, need to be one small change, and that will be recording of a vote. We need to, in the minutes, it needs to be registered as who voted yea and who voted nay. And I think Aprilham's going to make those changes, but that would need to be voted on by the board. Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, including allowing you to make those changes.
So moved. Second.
All those. Go ahead.
Mr. Walker seconded
I second it.
already.
All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand, I'm sorry. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. First is public comments. If anybody would like to speak, I didn't see any names, and I don't think Mr. Carter had any on the sign-up sheet, but if anybody'd like to speak, now's your time. Hearing none and seeing nobody making a move, we will close the public comments section. Next is the consent agenda. We have that in our packets, page 7 through 27. We've had a chance to review these for about the last 6 or 7 days. I need a motion and a second if we're going to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, likewise sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now we go down to section B. That was the public hearing that we had at our last scheduled meeting. That was for a road change, page 28 through 37. And at this time, I would like a motion and a second to approve those name changes for the roads.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those, wait just a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, likewise. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, presentation to the board. Looks like Miss Amy Lucas, June Miranda, come on up. June's first.
So, do you want me
Pull
to
that down just a little.
that better? Oh, okay. So, hi, my name is June Mangano. I'm part of the Alleghany County 4-H. This weekend, I'm going to be going to the North Carolina Association County Commissioners Youth Summit. It is a mouthful. I'm pretty excited. So you get to learn about what county commissioners do and how they help our community. And yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys there. Oh, picture, yeah. We have to take a picture.
Ready for a picture? If the commissioners would come up front so we can get a picture.
I will do my best. All right, ready? 3, 2. That was wonderful. Do you all have any questions about the association meeting this weekend? Is anybody going to be able to attend Saturday? I know it's in Raleigh. It's a long way away. No.
I think it's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing. No, it's a great opportunity. Yes, she's going to represent us well. We're very excited. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and good luck.
Yes, taking her back to her first day of school.
Appreciate it. Next would be item 2, Human Resources, April Ham.
For me to go.
Wherever you feel comfortable.
Well, we probably need a picture here.
Okay.
Good morning. We have a recent retiree that we want to honor this morning, George Ham. You want to come up here? George has actually been with the county since October of 2006. He came to the county from the school system. He had worked between 3 and 4 years with the school system and came to the county as paramedic, and that's what he retired from, still the job title, paramedic. So we want to honor him this morning with 20-plus years of service to Alleghany County.
I think that's great. George, say something before we get some.
I have nothing really to say other than thank y'all for putting up with me for 16 years. I appreciate that. It's been a fun 16 years. I've enjoyed it.
Board, George, come on back.
I'll be back once in a while. Once in a while, I'll come back.
You're going to still do a little part-time?
A little part-time, yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
Yes, sir.
why don't we get the commissioners back up there again and get a picture?
I think that's a good idea.
Have to get the picture taken down and go home, right?
Perfect, give me a chance to
Yeah.
It's not even an election.
Okay. Thanks.
George, thank you for all those years. Appreciate it. Thank you, George. We appreciate all that you've done. I know that you've worked really hard at the fairgrounds also. We've been on these committees together, And I really appreciate everything that you've done over the years.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
April, that was it for you for now. Now you're back up for your finance officer.
I laid a report in front of everybody this morning. Year-to-date revenue, and we still are talking about fiscal year '23. We're not going to get into fiscal year '24 as of yet. Year-to-date revenue, $19,896,819.37. Year-to-date expenditures, $17,566,817.12. Year-to-date revenue represents about 8% over what we anticipated. Year-to-date expenditures represents 95% of our approved budget of $18,412,892. Bank balance as of this morning, $14,617,447. Public savings account, $5,177,844.55, for a total of $19,795,292.17. Bank balance as of July 31st, 2022, $13,275,034.82. Our year-to-date net financials is $2,330,002.25, but we do have almost $700,000 of additional revenue to add to last year's revenue amounts. I haven't done that final journal entry yet because we still have some revenue coming in. Additional revenue is going to be $690,224 as of today, which brings our net financials to $3,020,226.25. The auditors are going to be here the last week of this month. So hopefully 4 to 6 weeks after their visit, their on-site visit, we'll have that final fund balance number.
They'll be here at the end of August someplace. Okay.
Last week of August, they're going to be here 4 days. So any questions about the initial financials? Second page is an update on sales tax. And with May and June sales tax numbers coming in, year-to-date is $1,319,439.32 in the local option sales and use tax. The additional quarter-cent sales and use tax, we have $62,744.39 additional that has come in with May and to bring it to a total of $244,409.91.
Any questions? Just, it looks great. I think we're really getting to be on solid ground, like we have been for the last 18 months or maybe a little longer. It's a very positive report compared to what we saw a few years ago. I'd like to thank the board and the finance department and Mr. Carter and all that crew that have worked so hard to try to get us to this point. And I think we're just about being the envy of a lot of counties in the state from where we were to where we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hey, thank you, April. It'd be item 4, Chamber of Commerce Activities Update. Lisa Bottomley, there she is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good news, you don't have to get up and have a picture made with me, so. So you had my packet, you had my report in your packet. I gave that to April to make sure that you had that before the meeting. In the interest of time and some things that I want to discuss near the end, I'm kind of going to breeze through some of it. Page 1 is pretty typical of what the Chamber does on an annual basis. You've had a chance to review that. I'm not going to go in depth with it. And again, it's not all-inclusive of all of our activities. It's just some highlights. So if you have any questions about page 1, please let me know. We do have the Mountain Heritage Festival coming up in September. And then I just put a few items that we have coming up in October through December, like our trunk and treat, our Christmas parade, the tree lighting, and we always do a big push for promoting shopping local during that time as well, just to, instead of people going out of town, we'd love for them to be able to support our merchants. So any questions on page 1? All right. I do want to, if I may, jump to page 3 of my report. And I don't mean to jump around, but I think it makes a little more sense for what I'm getting ready to do. I just want to highlight the numbers in the Visitor Center. As you can see, from 2022 to this year, we've had a small jump in visitors coming into the Visitor Center, and we're glad to see that. We have a lot of people coming in wanting to know about property here, about moving here, how real estate is here. We have a lot of people actually from the Raleigh area, Statesville area, down in the Piedmont, Durham, and a lot of people from up north who come to visit. And then every now and then we'll have someone out of the blue from Australia. How people find Sparta is pretty incredible. So you have those numbers there. Just some chamber member highlights. We currently have 298 active chamber members. We did 8, so far to date, we've done 8 ribbon cuttings for new businesses or to celebrate anniversaries. In June, we had a Chamber Connection event, which was a networking event for our chamber members and actually anyone outside wanting to network and learn more about the chamber, and we had about 40 people in attendance. We have begun a Monday member spotlight where members are now, they call us and they book their week, and we are currently booked up until December. It's a very nice social media campaign that we do. It's also in our newsletter, and it highlights a chamber member. We have, again, I think I reported this the last time I was here, we've revived the Blue Ridge Business Network, which is a monthly meeting for any business owner, entrepreneur, or just anyone who's interested in the monthly topic. You don't have to be a chamber member to attend. Attendance has been averaging around 20 people per month, 18 to 20. Lunch is sponsored, usually by a business or by an individual, so lunch is provided to everyone for free. We've had great conversations, a lot of networking, a lot of sharing of ideas about how people can improve their presence as a business or how they can grow, give them the tools for organization, social media marketing types, things like that. So it's been a really good session and a good opportunity for people to get together. I do now, and again, apologize for jumping around, I do want to go back to page 2, please. Under where it says Other, I just want to kind of put it out to you all and to the public as well. The Chamber is tasked with not only being a member organization, but also being a marketing organization, and sometimes those things do not run hand in hand. We do have to separate those at times because the marketing piece is about tourism and getting visitors here to Alleghany County. So I just wanted to say that because a lot of people think that if we don't mention a certain business or if we don't do this, that we're not being fair to our members, but it's 2 separate activities that we've been tasked to do. But it is about people getting them here, and once they're here, then they're going to see what businesses we have and who's open and what they're doing and what we have to offer. So under that other category, you can see just these are just a few of the things that we've done, been a part of and implemented this year. We are still in a marketing agreement with High Country Host. They do all of the High Country marketing, so we did enter agreement with them, and we provide all the content to them to be able to market Alleghany County and the happenings here in Alleghany County. You can see we've had a sponsored article in our state magazine. We've been on WBTV. We will have 1 billboard through September and October. We'll also be on 107.9 September, October. We'll have an ad in Western North Carolina Magazine, and also last year we had an article with our state magazine, and I'm hoping that'll return again, and I went ahead and put that on here. We've had ads in the Blue Ridge Music Center program booklet, which goes out to all their attendees to all their shows at the Music Center. We assisted with the Visit North Carolina digital campaign. We invited them here, we got them here, and we are working with them for 2 more campaigns throughout the year. One will include outdoor activities here in Alleghany County and things to do. We've purchased 2 months imaging campaign with Ashe County Radio. This campaign highlights things to do in Sparta and Alleghany County. They really highlight the events that are going on over the weekend to draw people here. We always have ads and articles in the Blue Ridge Digest, and that is spring and summer and fall. They have 3 editions that we are in. And they always include articles. So anytime we put an ad in, they do a great article on Alleghany and Sparta. By the end of October, we will have sent out 40 e-briefings or our newsletters highlighting events and community information. We do that weekly. If you're not signed up, I recommend that you get signed up. All you have to do is let us know at the chamber. With TDA funding, Alleghany County will continue to have a half-page ad in the annual Blue Ridge Parkway Traveler Guide. 300,000 copies are distributed out through North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. Visitor packets, we estimate that we will distribute in 2023 around over 300 visitor packets. Those are given out at events. We also provide packets to any groups or short-term rentals that request them. We also ran ads and local information in Alleghany News, New River, and Fall Guides, and these are distributed throughout North Carolina and the region, local events, and through businesses. And I review this with you because I do want to say that tourism, marketing, all of that is a type of economic development. It does impact our economy greatly, as you heard through the $62,000 raise through our sales tax since October. So all of this is really economic development, maybe not in a traditional way that people think of economic development, but anytime you can bring in money from the outside into your community, then that keeps you, and that increases your county's wealth, and it keeps the county and the town from basically recycling money through the county every year. $33 billion in tourism spending was in North Carolina in 2022. And I recently went to a tourism summit where the CFO of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina was there, and he stated that there is also a correlation between businesses coming to an area if they are also an attraction. Are they attractive to people? Is there something to do when you're there? Definitely a correlation if people, if businesses put their business into a county. So just wanted to let you know that there is some correlation between being a destination and whether or not businesses will set up shop here. Over the weekend, I did receive a report, and you will get this as soon as I can get it to April. She can distribute it throughout, and it's also going to be in the newspaper. But I received a report from Visit North Carolina. This is a report that they do on visitor spending. And this visitor spending is for 2022 in the millions. And I want to bring to your attention that Alleghany was 47th in the state in growth. It saw a 9% growth in visitor spending between 21 and 2022. And being from Alleghany, it's so hard to wrap my head around these numbers, but I do want to report them to you. In 2022, in Alleghany, lodging brought in $10.77 million. Recreation, $6.61 million. Retail, $4.18 million. Transportation, $10.54 million. And total spending was $47.69 million. It still puts us only at 1% of the share of the state tourism spending, but it did show us having a 9% growth. Employment, it yielded 280 new jobs, and labor income in the millions was 11 million. State taxes, we contributed $1.6 million to state taxes. Local taxes, $2.1 million, and the state local tax savings per resident was $330 per resident because we have tourists coming into our county. Now, I know there's a lot of fear that we're going to one day look like Boone or Blowing Rock or Myrtle Beach. can't look like Myrtle Beach. We don't have a beach, and we don't have an ocean, and there's only a certain amount that we can grow. But I do think that it's something that we need to be talking about, and how to maintain a good balance between tourism and maintaining our culture and the way of life that we have here. Early fall, Whit Tuttle with Visit North Carolina will be coming to Alleghany County. He is the executive director, and I've invited him to come and speak to you and speak to the town and speak to anyone who's interested, and we're going to invite some outside TDAs to come as well about the impact of tourism and travel. So I'd love for you to keep an open mind about that. I'm not saying that we should become a Blowing Rock or a Boone. I'm not saying any of that, but I do think we need to capitalize on the fact that we have people coming here and they're spending money and they're contributing to our fund balance and to our tax base, and it's worth a conversation is all I'm asking. All right. All right, and last but not least, I'm not going to review our other involvement that we have. You've seen that before. But on page 4, under economic development, contrary to some comments that have been made in this meeting and maybe out in the public, I'm not sure, but the Chamber did not choose to not do economic development. We are actually very involved still in some of the activities that I was doing before Brian retired and before we went to 2.5 staff and before the budget was cut. So that is not true. We are still very much involved in the process of certain projects, as you can see on my report. When I came and reported at the public hearing in May around the budget, I did state that because of the cut in funding and because of Brian's retirement and because we were only 2.5 employees, that we would not be able to do economic development at a high level. So I'm really pleased to hear conversations here in this forum that you are considering some economic development perhaps in the future, so I'm excited to hear that. And Michael knows, Michael and I have a very cordial work relationship, and he knows that the Chamber is always willing to work with him on any projects that come through here. I email Michael on a regular basis with information about things that are forthcoming, trainings, economic development activities, and anything that I'm involved with. I invite Michael and Ryan Wilmoth of the town. So we've been, of course, NAPCO. We've had this on the report before, and it did add about 20 plus jobs, or will. We have been involved from the beginning with the town of Sparta in their creative placemaking initiative and with the strategic planning process. I believe all of you received a copy of that by now. I attended the Visit North Carolina 365 conference in March. The Chamber is the lead organization for the Building Outdoor Communities Initiative. Allegany's in the very beginning stage of this. We worked with Phil True of High Country Council of Governments to brainstorm on our current assets and who needs to be at the table. Michael's been invited to that and actually sent representatives. Our next session is upcoming this week, actually. I'll travel to Lenore to meet with those folks who are in charge of this. We've also been involved with, on your paper it says Gateway Community Initiative. That's now changed names to Blue Ridge Rising, and that's with the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. This is to bring more attention to these gateway communities such as Alleghany and Sparta, to get people off the parkway and into our towns to shop and dine. I did attend the Northwest North Carolina Chamber Legislative Day in Raleigh. Met with Senator Ralph Heiss and House Representative Ray Pickett. Areas of discussion for that group were revolving loans to counties for industrial sites for less than 1,000 acres, workforce development, child care, Medicaid expansion, housing. The discussion on Alleghany when I met with Senator Heiss and Representative Pickett was around economic development, strategic planning, again, housing, child care. We had a lot of the same concerns that most Northwest North Carolina chambers have. It was a great experience. A lot of good conversation came out of that. I've already mentioned the Visit North Carolina CEO visit in the fall of 2023. So anyway, I think that covers all of that section. And at the end of your report, you'll see some of the people that we've collaborated. This is on page 5. High Country Council of Governments, Bill Slagle, and actually Bill Slagle will be coming to Sparta tomorrow to do some manufacturing tours, and I have invited the town and county to be part of that. And we've worked with the Chamber Associations, Ray Pickett, High Country Realtors Association, and the Government Affairs of Northwest North Carolina for the North Carolina Realtors. And Michael knows that he can contact me anytime if he needs any names or contact information. Moving forward, the Chamber will report quarterly on the Alleghany County Visitor Center. We will be, and this will also be something we report to the TDA on visitor numbers, demographics, purpose for visit and travel, Alleghany Magazine distribution, event packet distribution. And just to point out, the Visitor Center is not an income source for the Chamber, other than we sell a map or two during the year that we, which might yield $100. It is an expense for the Chamber to staff and to operate. So just wanted to let you all know that, and I did state that Alleghany County is funding $15,000 toward that Visitor Center. So we will be coming here every quarter to report on those numbers. A few follow-up items. Greg, you had mentioned wanting to know kind of how churches apply for TDA fundraisers for that. I did send a message to Heather. I know she has sent a message to the School of Government. Is that correct? My current understanding is that churches are automatically considered nonprofits, and as long as the event can prove that it's bringing in tourism, it's kind of like Faith Fest in Wilkes County. I think that's held by a couple of churches or spiritual groups, faith-based groups, and their TDA helps fund that, but it is definitely a tourism event. And I do believe that the church would have to prove, if ever asked, that if they made any money off that event, that it went back to their mission and vision. That would be on them. But again, we have put in a message, and so we'll update you on that as soon as we get any information, because I do think there is a potential for churches to hold some events, and so maybe that'll open some conversation around that. Also, I think years ago, before I ever came on to the Chamber, maybe Karen Lees came to you and asked that the flower bed that's there at the old Dysart building, that the Sparta Revitalization Committee would take care of that flower bed. About a year and a half ago, we paid a little over $1,000 to have it rocked and some trees and greenery so that it would be low maintenance. I did see the other day that there are weeds growing up through it. I did ask the county to spray that because I cannot spray that. I don't have a license to spray. And so, but I went by yesterday and it did look cleaned up, and so I thank whoever did that. But we no longer have the staff capacity to take care of that bed, so I'd like to give it back to the county if we could. We are willing to, we have an art grant. Maybe we could put a nice piece of art there. I know the statue that's there now will be removed by the artist before too long. So maybe just consider that, but we just don't have the staff capacity to take care of it. I can't spray. I don't have the means to do any of that anymore. So I don't know how to give that back to you other than to give it back to you. Or John, you have planted flowers all around the courthouse. Maybe that's something we can do there. I'm not sure, but conversation to be had. I thought it was town property, but it is not. It is county. But you all gave that to us, I guess, years ago.
I can comment a little bit on that Timmy and I were on the facilities committee. We had a tour, I guess, 2 weeks ago or something, and that was one of our conversations, and it was taken care of. The weeds were pulled.
Thank you.
It looks a lot better than it did.
It does.
So,
and it has fabric underneath, so we thought that would maintain that, but it hasn't. They're still growing up between the rocks, and I do try to go out and pull them, but that's a fighting battle that, as soon as I pull them, they're back up. And then I can't go through and spray, so it's really hard for me to maintain that.
well, I think that it's on our radar now
Okay.
to keep that, just like we mow that yard in front of the courthouse and everything.
Okay.
So I think that's on our radar to try to keep that place looking nice just like we've done at the Veterans Park, the fairgrounds, if you've noticed, all of those weeds were pulled at one time, the bushes were trimmed. We've done an extensive amount of work trying to keep this place looking good.
Right.
But we have a lot of facilities and a lot of, this time of year, it seems like everything hits when the growing season's upon us. Yard mowing, grass mowing, Randy is now a man short, so we're trying to work around that, but that is something that we'll continue to try to keep it looking as nice as possible.
And like I said, we have a small grant that's it's earmarked. It's an art grant. So if there was ever a desire to maybe put maybe a painting of some sort or something that says Heart of the Blue Ridge Parkway to represent Alleghany County, that might be something we could work with you with. But I just wanted you to know that I can't maintain it with the current staff that I have, and I don't like going through and seeing it looking that way. So I appreciate you all taking care of that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look that way anymore.
No, it doesn't. I noticed that yesterday, so I really do appreciate that follow-up on that. And just last, I think you've probably seen in the paper or heard that I did submit my resignation to the Chamber of Commerce. I do want to put on record that it has absolutely nothing to do with the Chamber. I've been very well treated there. I have a great board. I've loved my staff. My staff is extremely dedicated to Alleghany County. We all are. We're all locals. We all grew up here. But I will be staying on with the Chamber part-time until they find someone to replace me. So if any of you know anyone who's interested in this position, please encourage them to send their resume to me at the Chamber, and I will forward that on to our executive board and to our full board. This is a great opportunity for me. I'm going to work for the Blue Ridge Parkway Association, but I will be here until they can find someone. I didn't want to leave the Chamber in a hard place because that's how much I believe in the Chamber and what it is to this community. I would like to encourage you that whoever's in this position moving forward, we're just doing a job. We were hired to do a job. And I know that there are personal feelings against, certain things, and personal feelings and county feelings about how maybe we should fund the Chamber, maybe we shouldn't fund the Chamber, and so on and so forth. And the last 3 years, I've stood up here and, it's not been a great experience for me. And I came back here 3.5 years ago to help my community. I'm from here. I grew up here. I'm a Glade Creeker. I was a mountaineer. Mountie. I was a Trojan. I played sports. They don't get any more native than me. I did move away for a while and came back to make my home here so my children can grow up here. So whoever stands in this place moving forward, I just ask that you be kind. They're up here only doing a job. And that's the same for anybody who comes up here and reports to you. They're just doing their job. And it's okay to hold people accountable. It is absolutely okay to be held accountable. I've been held accountable most of my career because I've always worked for nonprofits, and it is not an easy job. So in moving forward, that's my words to you, is to be kind. Ask questions. It's perfectly your right and your duty to ask questions about where your tax money's going. But you can do it in a kind manner to where people want to get up here and want to stay in Alleghany County and want to work here in this county. I'll be very honest with you, it breaks my heart that I felt that I needed to go somewhere else to work. So that is my last, this might be my last time reporting to you, I'm not sure. But I appreciate those of you who have shown me respect as a professional and who've helped me along the way. And any questions for me regarding my report?
Before you leave, what are the dates for the Christmas parade? Do you have those yet?
It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
The Saturday after?
After Thanksgiving, yeah. I think that this year might be the 29th. You may got a phone? 29th, maybe?
And a couple places in your report, you reference housing, for the county. And I think all of us know that that's a challenge to a lot of people.
Yep.
But I've asked our board members, as they ride around in the community, just to look at all the places that are not being rented or not being sold. And I'm curious as to how many single trailers that we have, how many houses that we have that have no one in them. And I live 4.5 miles from here, and I come onto my back road, and there's 11 or 12 places that people have lived in the last few months that are vacant right now.
Yeah.
So I've got questions as to why there's so many vacant places, and then why there seems to be a lot of concern that people don't have a place to live.
And it may be the state of the property. I don't know, that'd be a good question for realtors. I did bring this for you, and I can send this in an email as well. This is a report from the High Country Realtors Group. Some of you may get this in an email, but they did report, and this looks like it's July of 2023. In Alleghany County, realtors sold 16 residential properties during July with a median sales price of $237,000. The median days on the market was only 47 days. So whatever is for sale is going fairly quickly. And there are currently 46 active residential listings in Alleghany County, which is not a lot when you think about our population and our area, our what do you call it? Our acreage, whatever you call it, I can't think of the name. But yeah, so that's a report I got. I can send that to you as well. I think that's a good conversation to have with our local realtors as to why some of these are vacant. I think some of them probably have been lived in. They're probably still on the same land that person owned, and they moved on, but this land hasn't sold. I'm not real sure, Bobby, but I think it's something that we can definitely find out.
I'd just be curious as to how many, and I don't know how you go about finding out how many vacant dwellings there are in the county that are, you have to have a safe place, you have to have, a building that people can live in. But the ones that I'm referring to are people that have moved out in the last year or so. And it's just sitting there right now.
Yeah.
Questions, John, for Lisa?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like for you to verify the figures on the lodging from Visit NC. I'm showing, if I got my figures correctly, 10.77 million.
Yeah, I read right off that report that I received on Friday. So let me make sure I said that correctly. This was printed right off 10.77 million in lodging is what this report shows.
The reason why I wanted that verified, we are only collecting 1/3 the occupancy tax if that figure is correct.
Yeah, and probably some background on this, John, too, on how they get these numbers as well. This will be as a press release, but I can send it to you along with a link to the report. I'll make sure I get that to April this week so that you all can look at that more in depth. But it is on visitnc.com under partners, under research, and then under 2022 data.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Also, as far as not having a license, if you are a volunteer, and this is not from me, another citizen went to the director of the pesticide division, state of North Carolina. I've given a copy of the email where they state, if you are a volunteer using off-the-shelf weed killer, you do not need a license. County manager has a copy of that email. If he can't find it, I will be glad to give you a copy, or any other citizen that wants to do this, I'll give you a copy so that you've got records. I keep it with me. I've been stopped 3 times. I have it in a Ziploc bag, and I just pull it out and show them.
You should have it laminated, John.
Hey, yeah. Oddly enough, they've never also volunteered to spray weeds while I was out there. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Michelle?
I just want to say thank you. You have served us well. It's a great loss that we're losing you. It's a great gain for the Blue Ridge Parkway, but I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michelle.
Greg, comments?
Appreciate you looking into that church thing.
Sure.
Tammy?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I guess this is on more of a personal note, that I knew you since you was just a little bitty tot. Tells you how old I am. But anyway, I do really appreciate it. I've been a part of the chamber for a good while, and I do know the hard work that you put in, and I do know that you're going to be greatly missed. And I just really, really appreciate what you've done and what you will probably continue doing through the Parkway deal. But also, I want to add to what you were talking about the drawing power that we have here in the county about people coming here. And I've lived that interest when they come in to look, and they try to ask you all questions and stuff. They go out and buy properties, they buy land, they buy houses. I've worked for people from New York to Charlotte, Florida, New Jersey, Michigan, and those folks got information from somewhere, and they came here and they love this place. And a lot of people, and they have friends, and because I'll ask them, I say, so how did you find out about it? And it's through these means, through chamber, and then they tell their friends, and they come and visit, and right now it's a big deal in Alleghany County. It's like you said, there has to be a balance. I never see us being a boon or blowing rock, but we are getting to a place to where there's a lot of interest here. And so it is just to add to the facts that you brought up, and there's living facts out there that I know, that I've lived it, and I know that. So anyway, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And appreciate what you do, and that's it.
Any more questions?
Lisa, I would like to, I'd like to say that you'll be greatly missed. We've known each other for several years, and I've known your family since back in the 60s. And
Way before I was born.
I wasn't going to go there.
Well, I want to make sure that's on record, just.
But I knew your father and your mother and your sisters, and your sister was very special to me years ago, and I know that the enthusiasm that you have for the county, like I say, that'll be greatly missed, but I hope that your employment with the Parkway will sort of try to shift some of those people.
It will.
When they get finished doing everything. The Parkway's a big draw.
Yeah.
But also, looking through the report, that I don't want people to forget that Alleghany County is an agricultural county. And tourism is part of agriculture. Because a lot of people come up here, choose and cut. They come up now, these pumpkins, I mean, the fields almost turn orange here in end of September and getting into October, but agriculture is what we were founded on, and
It is.
and I think agriculture is our future. Now, we do have jobs for, I think small companies to come in here, 20, 30, 40 people, but from everything that I've heard and seen over the last 8+ years, the factories that we used to have, Haynes, the shoe factory, the Dr. Graybo, at one time we were pushing 2,000 plus factory workers. I just don't see those days coming back. But we have that small niche. I think this place, Alleghany, is very low in crime rate. We have, I think, great infrastructure. The water system has really been beneficial. We're upgrading the roads. There's all sorts of tractor trailers go up and down Elkin Mountain every day. Bottomleys, I don't know how many they send, but we've got Pioneer Eclipse. We've got all these different companies. So the roads shouldn't hinder us that greatly, but there is a disconnect a little bit. But I just want us to remember agriculture and not stray away from that. And I think that agriculture is our mainstay.
So, just for your peace of mind, we do, every year in our Alleghany magazine, we highlight the agriculture here in Alleghany County. We try to market the Choose and Cut. We have not been able to do a very great job of that because we have farmers asking us not to market it, actually, because they're only there one weekend or they don't have the help, and that's been for the last 3 years. We've had actual farmers contact us and say, don't put the word out there. If they call, yes, tell them, but don't advertise it. Last year, I believe we only had 4 or 5 farms doing it, and it was very limited, like one day, maybe 2, or maybe 2 weekends, and that was it. So hopefully the inventory of trees will start to increase again. But Mark Purdue told me it could be anywhere from, I think the last time I talked to Mark, it was around 3 years before our inventory will get back up where it was, and it might even be longer than that, I'm not sure. But I think the agricultural fair is a good advertisement too for our agriculture and the pumpkin contest and all the crop contests they have. So I think that's a big feather in our hat. That fair could really be a huge draw. It is a huge draw, but it could even grow beyond what it is now. So I do think that agriculture is on top of mind.
I said, you're going to be greatly missed.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all's time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be facilities update. David Spicer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Appreciate the opportunity to stand before you this morning. A few things that are on our list that we have accomplished this last little while. The administration building, of course, you've seen there was a little bit of disruption around the building. We tore up some sidewalks and we've replaced some sidewalks. So the concrete work has been completed. The lower level lot where we are parked here today and will be resurfaced. Actually, that pavement will be torn up and it will be completely redone. So that's coming in the near future. They tell me that maybe September will be as soon as they could get here, but we're working towards getting that accomplished. Our transfer facility, we had a site visit from the vendor for the compactor for the cardboard. Everything has been measured and everything's a go there, so hopefully in about 7 weeks maybe we will have a new compactor ready to sit down on the new pad at the transfer facility for cardboard. That will assist us in being able to place more cardboard in the containers and make it easier for our citizens to dispose of that for recycling. So in the commingle we had 2.65 tons. Cardboard, we had 3.49 tons. We also had 8.15 tons of scrap metal that we hauled off, which yielded the county $1,643.40. So that's still staying fairly good. So we're looking at hopefully continuing bringing in a little bit as we go. 90 South Main, the windows are in, the doors is in. All of that looks good. The siding is going up on the facade in the front. The roof is on the building. The only thing left as far as the roof is concerned is the cap, which will be an aluminum cap that goes around the parapet wall. So that will seal it all off and have everything completely done, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So, but it does have a new roof on it, even the doghouse. So it's all good there. We have been in and worked on the soil and water office. The wall's been built, that's been painted, the electrical is being done, the floor has been put down. So we're gaining ground on when we can move folks back into 90 South Main. So all that's upcoming pretty soon, I hope. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have people back where they're supposed to be. I reported to you at the Wilson Community College side of that building there that the skylight was leaking and we was having trouble getting it in. It finally came in. So that skylight at Wilson Community College, which was back there in front of the biology lab, that has been replaced and is no longer a leak. So that's all been taken care of. I reported last time about the EMS unit that we just received. We're having a little bit of a supply chain issue, I guess you'd say. Our stretcher mount and our stretchers, they're hopefully going to be here sometime maybe by the end of this month. We're also waiting on a radio for that truck. All those things have to be in place before we can get that truck inspected by the state. So once it's inspected by the state, we'll be able to put it on the road. I had heard a few things of folks asking questions. It's not been anything that's been detrimental to the county. It's just questions as to why do you not run that truck? Well, it's not been inspected yet, and it must have a state inspection from the state office of EMS before that truck can be used. So we're waiting on those things, and as soon as those things are available, then I will have that truck inspected and we will get it on the road. So just waiting on the things. DSS, it's been a little bit of a long road to get them where they are today in the additional building that we have acquired there. But we have gotten most everything over there completely finished for the past projects that was brought before us. So those things have been done. There is an additional project that we're going to be working on in the next week or so to have some added security to the DSS building. So we're looking at keeping our people safe, so we're going to do those things and take care of that. I had some questions about the Council on Aging roof where the wind damage was there. We're having a difficult time of getting the contractor here. He tells us that he's coming. He didn't come, and then he told us he'd be here Saturday, and he didn't come. So Mark Purdue is working on trying to contact him today, and if he's not going to be able to get here, then we're going a different route. We're going to get a different contractor. So I know that was an estimate, and he was the lowest estimate, but if we're not going to be able to do it, we're going to have somebody else do it, because we can't allow our buildings to sit in disrepair when we know that we can fix it. So we're going to work on that. So animal control, as I'll conclude with this. So to date, we've had 13 calls where we assisted the Sheriff's Department, 5 calls of dogs and livestock, 19 well-being checks, 18 dogs or cats, and a rooster that was picked up this time. The rooster was part of the running at large as well, so there was 13 that was running at large. We've had 3 attacks and 3 quarantines, 9 traps, and all 9 of those traps yielded animals, which was part of the 18 or 19 that was picked up. So we had 152 hours this time, but only 26 calls and 790 miles traveled. So that's the conclusion of my report. I'll answer any questions that you might have, if I can.
Still keeping the dogs?
Cheryl, go ahead.
Go ahead. Still keeping the dogs at Twin Oaks?
Yes, sir.
We didn't go to court on them.
Yes, sir. We did go to court. He did not show up. So since then, he was placed on a different bond, and he has been arrested. So That court
Him up
case,
and the dogs both.
yes. So it should be coming up again the 25th of this month. They said if they could arrest him before the 20th, they would try it on the 25th, which they did accomplish, so hopefully.
Michelle?
I did talk to the dog catchers last week, and they said that they thought that this go-around, they were going to release the dogs to be adopted out.
We hope so.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Yeah, we hope so. After the 25th, we hope so.
Oh, it's always interesting to hear our animal control report.
Especially about the rooster.
The rooster was actually attacking people, so he was not a very nice rooster.
Has he
He's a
gone by
better
the
rooster now.
wayside?
He's a better rooster now. So,
Any other questions?
Just a comment. Laugh about the rooster, but I was the one that called David about that, or texted him. The rooster was attacking people over at the Whitehead Community Building. They ran out the building. People are coming in, the rooster's attacking them from the rear, ambushing. And whenever you saw the pictures of the injuries,
yes.
you didn't want to get attacked by that rooster, so I'm glad that he's doing things right now.
Mr. Carter, any comments? Do you need a rooster? Well, this rooster's gone anyways.
He's lean.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Be sure that shows up in the minutes.
I'll make sure.
Attack rooster eliminated.
Next is dispatch and emergency management update. Daniel.
Good luck following up on
Well, I
that.
appreciate you guys setting the mood for my presentation, so I don't have any roosters to talk about, or any other livestock for that matter.
Oh, man.
Mr. Carter asked me to come to you guys to give you a brief update on how things are going in dispatch and the world of emergency management as we stand now. So I'll begin with dispatch. Finally, after 8 months, we're fully staffed. We have 8 full-time people, and like I said, all those positions have been filled. The 2 newest hires should complete their training hopefully by the end of September. And at that point, we'll start rolling into the EMD portion of our training that we've been waiting for. It's taking a little longer to get there than what I had intended, but we're finally, approaching the finish line there as far as that goes. A couple of projects that I want to get to with dispatch. First of that, we've got this beautiful new comm center down here with all this new equipment. Well, we also have a backup site, and that's in the EMS base. That backup site is currently kind of a hodgepodge of old furniture, used monitors, stuff like that. Everything, all that equipment that's in that room is also 911 eligible money. Or let me restate that. Eligible to be paid for with 911 money. So moving forward, I would like to visit that as a possibility. The idea is that the backup site is a clone of what's down here. There'll only be one console instead of 2. But I think it would, 1, be more reliable, and 2, more comfortable. And 3, the idea is that if the dispatcher gets up from their seat, they go to the backup center, they're sitting at exactly the same thing they're used to sitting at. So I think it's worth exploring, and I would like to pursue that over the course of the next year. The state also has sent out some initial information about a small grant that they're going to be made available to all of our 911 call centers. And what that grant is intended for is to purchase a couple of handheld Viper radios. I've notified Mr. Carter that I'm going to be pursuing that. Again, it's not a huge grant. The cost of the couple of these, they're very high-end Viper radios, but the idea is that if something happens in the building, the dispatcher can grab the radio and run out the door with it if they have to. So we're looking at about a $15,000, $16,000 grant, and that will be included in next year's budget, is when I intend to get after that. So you'll be seeing that coming soon. And while we're talking about radios, I know there's been a lot of dissension amongst the fire departments about how lousy their radio service is. Well, we've been doing what we can to try to improve that. So you guys know, I worked with our vendor, Mobile Communications, and we have put a repeater on a mountain in Ashe County, on Phoenix Mountain, as a test run, as a trial run. The initial reports from Laurel Springs Fire Department are that their radios are the best they have ever been. I specifically asked their chief to find every place in their district where their radio service was lousy. I said, go there and try it out. And he said, we don't have any of those spots anymore. Our radios are working really good. So that's the first step in what I'm trying to get to with the radio service there. My intention is to, there's also a repeater on what's called Little Grandfather, Mulberry Gap is what we call it. I want to experiment a bit, and I want to turn off the repeater that's on Mulberry Gap and see what happens. If the service degrades, we turn it back on. If it remains the same as it is currently, very good, then basically we've taken down a repeater we didn't need, we put it back up in a better spot, and the money's all kind of a wash. And so that's kind of where I want to go next, in addition to working on improving service in the Glade Creek and Cherry Lane area. Kind of got a couple little projects maybe we're working on to try to hang some extra equipment out there. Again, it's all real initial, kind of want to test it, see how it does before we make long-term commitments, but that's where I want to go in the future. I think it's excellent news that our radio service is improving, so that the people that are trying to help, the people in the field that are trying to help all the citizens are able to communicate the way they need to. Any questions about dispatch before I move on?
One question now, all 5 fire departments are reporting better communications.
Right now, I've asked Laurel Springs. They say it's better. I've been notified Piney Creek to ask them if it was better. I haven't really gotten a lot back from Piney yet. I'm going to reach out to them directly.
Okay.
Of course, that repeater is in Ashe County, so naturally it's going to service the western side of the county better than anyone else. So that's, I guess, in a way, that's kind of who I've been more focused on. It should, in theory, provide better service for everyone, but because of the travel distance between the town of Sparta and the eastern side of the county to Phoenix Mountain, which is basically in Jefferson, I don't know how that's going to impact the eastern side of the county at this time.
I was curious about Cherry Lane going down to Oklahoma and down in that area.
Well, like I said, we're pursuing an additional repeater site in the Roaring Gap community that should improve service everywhere out there, out in that neighborhood.
Any other questions about, go ahead, John.
What happened to the state providing the backup for dispatch?
I guess I don't understand the question.
It's my understanding that the state was going to come in using AT&T, and they were going to provide the backup. Has that gone away?
Are you talking about being able to transfer calls to other counties?
Yes.
No, that's still in place. And there's no requirement. I'd have to check with Mary. I don't know if there's actually now a requirement for a physical backup center.
They told us, if I remember correctly, on the initial briefing, that would take care of that.
Right.
But please, let's check on that before,
Sure.
because for the public's knowledge, we've got $800,000 worth of equipment in that secondary backup.
Right, absolutely.
And if we're going to bring it up to snuff, we're looking at another $800,000 probably. If it's not needed, then let's go.
Well, I guess it's, for the public's information, it's important to note.
Yeah.
That is not taxpayer money.
Yes.
It is 911
Well,
funded.
If they own a cell phone and they pay the 911 tax, yes, it is their
Right.
money, but it's not, we are not taxing you on that.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, good. Thank you. I would appreciate an answer on that, just to make sure if we need it, we got to have it.
Right.
Especially with what's going on recently in the world.
I'll
Thank you,
look
Mr.
into
Chair.
that for sure.
Any other questions at this point for Daniel? Go ahead.
Okay. Now I'll move on to the kind of the emergency management side of things, amongst many hats that I seem to wear from time to time. Anyway, just for your information, this year's grant cycle for emergency management is coming to a close. It's a yearly grant, recurring grant. It's kind of deliverable driven. It's a regional-based sort of approach. It amounts to about $40,000 a year that the county receives to help offset the cost of my department. Some of those deliverables are, being in regional activities and taking training hours and doing all those things that the state says I need to do, which, we do and conclude every year at the end of September. It aligns with the federal fiscal year. So that's wrapping up, and then a new grant cycle will begin again. It just kind of keeps rolling along. So just want to let you know that that's moving along and going well. I guess probably the hot topic that's been here lately is the truck that wrecked on 221 that spilled paint everywhere. I know that was pretty contentious, in the world of social media and such.
Mhm.
But just to let you guys know that, to the best of my knowledge, that site has been 100% completely remediated. All that soil that contained paint has been removed, taken away, fresh soil put down, straw blown on top of it and seeded, and we're rolling right along with that. So that's where we're at with that. Another big project, I guess, with a grant on the emergency management side of things has been the emergency operations plan update that you guys were made aware of. I talked to our contractor last week. We, of course, provided them with all of our initial stuff that we've had for years, the EOP, the hazard mitigation plans, and all those things. They have basically, at this point, finished the conversion of those old documents and old formats into a workable, living Microsoft Word type format that we can take away and put in and do those things with. So we're just beginning to work on the assignment of responsibilities that will be included in that plan for each individual who is named. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Again, this is a long project. It'll be next year sometime before it's done, but just so you guys know, that's where we're at right now. And the last item I wanted to bring up is, I hate to even mention it, but it's the earthquake. There's been a request from the OSBM office here. They have a couple of more properties they're going to have to replace. And we moved the campers out at the fairgrounds. They have requested that I reset 3 of those campers for them to house folks in until they can get their houses done. They anticipate that being done by the end of the calendar year, because they're going to do a modular. I highly doubt they're going to get it done by the end of the year just because we know how things go right now, but they have requested that. That's what the campers were for. It would be my intention to have those reset next week so they can move forward. With that said, I have no other comments if anyone has questions for me.
Questions? Go ahead, Greg.
If that paint was non-hazardous, how can we dig the dirt out of there?
Well, to say it wasn't hazardous, it still shouldn't be. It shouldn't be just allowed to remain in the ground. I had a conversation with a cleanup company out of Lenore, does this stuff professionally, named Stat Environmental. I talked to their owner about exactly what I had going on, and he said, it's paint. He said, we shouldn't be putting paint in the creek. Let's be clear. It's not that we need to go out here and be dumping paint in the creek. He said, but it's a non-hazardous material, so we still need to get it up because it will continue to leach into the creek. And the paint itself getting into the creek, it was non-hazardous. Its material sheet said that it would not hurt aqueous organisms, but the folks from Water Quality also told me that it would it'd make the water look milky and cloudy. And there is, I guess, aqueous organisms that don't like that type of turbidity. So there was their recommendation that we dig all that up and get rid of it.
The truck it turned over have insurance on it?
As far as I know, I have the insurance exchange form from Highway Patrol.
The truck or from the trailer?
I have what the state trooper gave me. And I'm going to be pursuing, of course, our hazardous materials ordinance says, if you spill something on the ground in this county, it's your job to clean it up.
So if they don't have insurance, who's going to end up paying for that out there?
We're getting into some legal stuff now, and I'm not a lawyer.
Is the county responsible if there ain't no insurance on it for the cleanup?
I'd have to look to our council.
I know the truck got stowed after it wrecked, and I understand there wasn't no insurance on the truck.
Right, like I say, I requested the insurance exchange form from the state trooper that day, and he provided it to me. And that's who I intend to file all that.
It was on the trailer, I think.
So,
The truck did get stowed.
Any other questions about, how many gallons were spilled?
it's hard to know exactly, but I estimated about 400 gallons.
400,
Yes, sir.
not 40,000.
The truck couldn't even haul 40,000.
Right.
It would have weighed 320,000 pounds if that was the case, so,
You'd mentioned social media.
sure.
You know, people have to understand, I would hope, that people can put anything they want to on the Facebook. Just because it's put out there does not make it true.
That's
I
correct.
mean, one of them said that the fire department wouldn't hand carry the buckets back up the hill because they were too heavy.
I guess so, they're 300-gallon totes.
How were these shipped, and how big of a container?
I don't-
They weren't shipped in 1 gallon
No, they were, in-
cans.
if you've seen them, you see them around, it's a plastic square thing about 4
Okay.
feet square with a metal wire cage around it. So, I mean, it's a 350-gallon tote. And there were 10 or 12 of them in the truck. So, I mean, he was at his maximum weight capacity,
Yeah.
but not, it wasn't stacked to the roof with paint. So, especially, like I said, in individual containers, that was not the case at all.
And I saw today, I think the guardrails were up.
Yeah.
They've seeded it, and I think they're putting the fence back in
Yes.
for the landowner.
Yeah.
Mr. Carter, you have any comments, or Heather, about the spill?
I'd just like to say that I think Daniel has done an excellent job in remediating that site. And he talks about the many hats he's wearing, and his new haircut demonstrates that, I guess. But we appreciate everything you do, Daniel.
Thank you, I appreciate you guys.
I don't guess that rooster ran across the road and made him wreck, or...
If he didn't, he should have.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next, we go to section D, about the Recreation Committee. We met last week, basically talking about the swimming pool. Michelle's on that committee, and I'm on with her. If you would like to go ahead and say a few words, and then I'll add something.
Yeah, we met with Boomerang, the company that is looking at all of this for us. We talked about, cost, site, talked about a lot of things that we'll be bringing to the board pretty soon. We're not quite ready to do that yet, but I want the public to know that we are working on it. And, it's hard for us to go ask for any money in Raleigh until we have some more numbers. So that's what we're searching for right now is, numbers, a feasible place to put the pool. So we talked about that. And also in the Recreation Committee, we have discussed the need for more ball fields that Randy has. So, we've got an unprecedented amount of kids that are wanting to play ball right now, and that's a huge need, is more ball fields. I'm glad to see kids getting out and wanting to play ball instead of being on video games, so.
I'd like to add to what Michelle said, that the company, Boomerang, the company that we hired to do the facility study, they looked at initially 10 different sites, and then we added one more, so it's been 11 sites that they've looked at, and waiting to get some more figures, like Michelle said, on some guesstimates at cost. We can't start asking grants and applying for grants and going to the General Assembly and asking for money till we have something that's a hard number that we can look at. And I've asked commissioners and Mr. Carter that I would like to visit Avery County sometime in September, and the commissioners will get back to me. I'm going to get a couple dates from Avery County that we could go up and visit their pool and just talk to them in general about the good and the bad that they have out of the pool, how it helps the citizens and gives them something to do. And like Michelle said, looking at different ball fields, that's on the radar also. So that was basically our report from the Recreation Committee, and unless Mr. Carter has something he'd like to add.
Summed it up.
Okay, thank you. So, any questions? If not, we'll move on to item number 2 under Section D, Alleghany Historical Genealogical Society Cemetery Committees. And I believe John Irwin is on that board at the Historical Society. Go ahead, John.
One of the things that the General Assembly has done is established a general statute, 65-111. County Commissioners to provide list of public and abandoned cemeteries. What this statute does, it tells the county that we have to form a committee or appoint a committee to identify abandoned and public cemeteries, which must be registered with the Register of Deeds. Now, fortunately, the Alleghany County Genealogical Society has a publication that was put out a number of years ago, which identified all the public and private cemeteries in Alleghany County. However, it is way out of date. The Alleghany Genealogical Society has a member, a young lady that is interested in this, and she is in the process of going around and updating that publication. Now, of course, it is going to be a continuing affair. Now, the problem that we have is that if she runs into a landowner that will not allow her on the property to look for a abandoned cemetery, she has no authority, or that committee. Now, under this statute, we can appoint a committee, and what I am recommending is that we use the Alleghany Genealogical Society Committee to perform this function. If we do that, and a landowner refuses access, it gives her, this committee, the capability of going to the Register of Deeds, explaining the needs, and then the Register of Deeds can issue a document that allows them to go onto the property. Now, for the property owners that are out there saying, oh my goodness, you're going to come in, you're going to find an abandoned cemetery, I know where there's one, what's in it for me? Once a cemetery is identified, that portion of your property that cemetery occupies is now no longer taxable, so you get a break on your property taxes. Especially with the last meeting that we had, I believe that this would be proper. It's going to have to be done anyway. Do we appoint a committee, or do we authorize an existing committee to perform this function? It's a statute, we're required to do it, so I'm recommending that the Alleghany Genealogical Society take this function and provide it for the county. By the way, General Assembly did the statute, but they never provided any funds. Imagine that.
As usual.
But they do authorize us, if that property owner wants to plant trees, put in a fence, or do something of that nature, it authorizes us to pay 1/3 of that bill. So that's my recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Have they agreed to do the job?
Yes. And we have 2 members, or possibly 3. We have 3 members of that committee present right now. They're willing to take the job. They're going to get out, they're going to fight the ticks, the chiggers, and the briars. More power to you. Yeah. And the attack rooster. Yeah.
Any questions about the committee? Go ahead, Timmy.
So when was the statute passed?
2022. No, excuse me, 2021.
So we've been doing okay with breaking the law, I guess, for the first 6 years. My concerns. I mean, you heard the fellow here with the tax deal. And I'm completely fine with people going out and checking out all these, register them and everything, but I do not think we need to be doing things to where we can, if somebody has a family cemetery in their backyard up on the hill, that if they don't want you to be there, they got that right.
I agree, but they don't. By the statute.
Yeah, by the state statute, yeah.
Right, by the state statute, part of this function is to furnish the Department of Publications divisions in the Department of the Secretary of State copies of lists of such public and abandoned cemeteries to the end that it may furnish to the boards of county commissioners for use of the persons in control of such cemeteries. Suitable literature suggesting methods of taking care of places. Now, one of the things that they've got to do, they've got to submit this list to our Register of Deeds, and it also goes to the state of North Carolina. I had your concerns also, especially after the last meeting we had and the open threat. So they are required to ask permission to go on the property. If it is denied, then they go to the Register of Deeds. In this case, I would recommend that they be accompanied by a deputy sheriff.
Yeah, well, I'm good with the committee. I think what they're doing is a great thing, because I love I've actually, during COVID, that was one of my wife and I's things. We go out all over the county and trying to dig through heritage, find cemeteries, people's names. I think it's a good idea to have it on register, but I don't think we need to go as far as the state wants us to go to, as far as have the committees, fine. I just don't.
I don't want anybody to endanger themselves for this. Not worth it.
Michelle, any questions? It's this thing about going on private property. I don't know why anybody would object, but that's up to them individually. They may just not want people. I don't know what the liability is if somebody walks on somebody's property and breaks a leg, steps into a groundhog hole, or a rooster attacks them, or, I just don't know that, but I don't know if we pass something, we have to follow state law the way that I understand it. So do we not pass it and we're breaking state law? Do we pass it? I don't know if this is a Heather question. I think, to me, it's a common sense, it's an easy answer. Yes, let's do it. But there's that 1% of people out there who may throw up some kind of roadblock. I just want to be sure that we're doing the right thing. And I'll tell you this, you're more than welcome to come on my property anytime. We've got one family cemetery, and I'll take you up there. But, that's up, I think Heather and Michael need some type of input here.
Well, we do, excuse me, we do plan on having a meeting with Rita Miller to update whatever the policy and procedure might be for appraisals on properties where there is that issue of trespass potentially out there, just to determine what her current procedure is based on what the statute says and the recent release of the information from the School of Government, their interpretation of trespassing and taxing authority and authority to go on to properties. So that may not be a bad one to also look at about the same time, not in regards to the tax office, but in regards potentially to the county and what we're authorized to do, with any committee, and then how the Register of Deeds might play into that, because I'm not really sure how the state, even the legislature, gave authority to the Register of Deeds office for anyone entering onto another's property. There still is an issue with the trespass, and I'm sure the same issue will come up, which is if a homeowner or a landowner says you're not authorized to be on the property, then there are issues, and you cannot go on that property without their permission, including for the tax office. So that's something definitely we would have to look at for the committee to make sure that they were going to be within their rights and how that would be handled.
I think also we're protecting the people that are on the
Sure.
committee.
Absolutely.
But whenever you start a shepherdizing, it's North Carolina Statute 65-113, county commissioners to have control of abandoned public cemeteries and trustees. So they have assigned us that. The county commissioners of various counties are authorized to oversee all abandoned public cemeteries in their respective counties, to see that the boundaries and lines are clearly laid out, defined, and marked, and to take proper steps to preserve them from encroachment. And they are hereby authorized to appropriate from the general fund of the county whatever sums may be necessary from time to time for the above purposes. So they're not only telling us we got to do it, but we can spend our own money doing it too. And it goes on. The other one that I cited about the committee is 65-102, entering private or public or private property to maintain or visit without consent. And this is the one that says that the clerk of the Register of Deeds can do the document, authorize them to go on the property. Now, the only thing they can do is go directly to the cemetery, cannot go around anywhere else, only for this purpose. And that is under 65-102.
I'm just concerned that if now a homeowner, as the same with the tax office, says you're not authorized to be on my property, even getting something from the Register of Deeds office, that still is not an authority for you to then come on property that you've been advised that you'll be trespassing on. And that there may be some correlation between what the tax office is authorized to do, and we'll definitely look at that also, because I don't know, even with that Register of Deeds would be able to give that authority for.
That's the case where a cemetery not observed due to property owner not allowing access, and then let the state take care of it, or the county, but whatever.
Cheryl, you had a comment?
It said in that statute, abandoned public cemetery. What if somebody claims that they have a private family cemetery? I would think of a public cemetery as being one like that's out here behind Trojan Village. Sparta Cemetery versus a private family cemetery.
I'd say most of the cemeteries in this county are going to be private family cemeteries. They're not public. So even if you went to the list, there's an old list, several that the Register of Deeds does have. However, they're very old. None of them have been updated, and they haven't been kept updated, but none of them are going to be considered public. It's only going to be, they're going to be private, and they're going to be on private property. I know of a bunch of them out off of where I used to live on Meadow Fork. They're all private. They're just on people's property, and family is still maintaining them. It's not open to the public. Not anyone can be buried there. You have to get permission from the family in order to be able to bury someone. So if that's the definition, or they're giving a definition of public versus private, I'd say that's where the line's going to be, and most of them are going to be private. And if you go onto private property and someone says you're trespassing, now we're going to have an issue.
I think that the common sense situation, or the common sense solution to this would be that, like you said, not many are going to fall into that public abandoned cemetery. Let this group contact people who have a private family cemetery and ask if they can go out there.
Well, we're getting into the weeds. Basically, what we're trying to do is authorize them to do that. We could give them authorization with the stipulations that they obtain permission before going on the property. and that would do it. But right now, we've got to form a committee. And I would
You know,
recommend,
asking this permission, I think, is certainly something that should be done, but it should be, I would think, in writing that they've agreed to let these people come on. But I think this is something that Heather needs to recommend to the board to go ahead and do. I want to be sure that the committee is protected legally, and I don't know all the legalities of it. That's why we have Heather to be sure we're doing everything properly. I'm 110% for it. I just want to be sure that everybody, the county government and the people that do it, are protected by state law and our authority. Mr. Carter?
I mean, this item is for information today. So, typically, it shows back up on your next agenda for consideration. In the span of between today and your next meeting, as Heather mentioned, we will be having a meeting to discuss some of these items and how they relate. So it is my thinking that we can come out of that meeting and have some type of better understanding and a recommendation for the board, not only for this particular item, but for the tax office and all items that are associated. So I think it's good information today. I think, we stand a good chance over the next couple of weeks of learning more, and we bring this back to you at your next meeting.
Are you suggesting moving it to the mid-month in September, the 18th, or the first meeting in September?
When is the first meeting in September?
We meet on the 5th. It's a Tuesday instead of Monday. It's a holiday.
I would suggest, and Heather can certainly correct me, but I would say your mid-month meeting because, there are more things that we need to include in this conversation than just this particular item.
And I'll clarify one thing. The 65-102, entering public or private property to maintain or visit without consent, this talks about petitioning the clerk of Superior Court.
excuse me.
Then the records are kept by the Register of Deeds. So this may involve a little bit more than us just saying you're getting something from the Register of Deeds. So it may be a little more involved. So I would definitely agree with Michael where we say mid-month in September. That gives a little more time if there needs to be clarification on our end before we say the recommendation is definitely have a committee, what the process would be if there were problems.
Sorry about the misinformation.
Just didn't want the Register of Deeds to get worried about what their...
Attack.
Yes.
So I think the recommendation's to move this to the mid-month in September, and we're not throwing cold water on it. We just want to be sure everybody is doing it the proper way. Is that agreeable with the board?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments on this subject? Okay, we'll move on to item number 3. Chelsea, you're up.
Good morning, everybody. First, before we start on the out-of-state travel request for myself, I want to inform you all that I have completed my certification and that I'm a now certified environmental educator, which entailed 200 hours of workshop and classes that I attended. So I'm very proud of that, that I'm now certified environmental educator. I'm requesting out-of-state travel for the Southeast District Employees Association. I'm a member along with my 5 supervisors and Eric. We are members of the North Carolina Conservation District Employees Association. That gives us the strength as a local district by providing professional development and assisting to better fulfill our responsibilities as employees for the District of Soil and Water. It gives us a voice to stand up if we have problems with state stuff.
national level. It just gives us a voice if we have problems or concerns that we can take to the legislator. We have scholarship opportunities. They also have an awards program as we move up in the district or as I complete my bachelor's degree, they can give us awards. So it's awarding us for what we're doing for them. I sit on that association as a representative for Area 2 as an alternate. So I take all the information from our area and take it to our state DA meetings. They host our CET, Conservation Employees Training, in September that Eric and I will attend. So we're networking with the state people 2 times a year, so usually in January and then in the fall. So I'm getting to network with all the state people, or my state educators, twice a year. And the reason I want to go out of state to the Southeast District Employees Association annual meeting is so I can network with Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, those kind of people I'm not getting to network with every year. This will give me the opportunity to talk about what Alleghany County is doing, what I'm trying to do with our community garden, being in the school system, being the only county in the state having a county environthon, and getting input on what I can do more for our children. Like you said earlier, the children getting out and playing sports. That's great. We love seeing that. Now it's time for me to get those children out of the classroom and get that hands-on experience in the soil, in the farming land, because it seems like today children only want to sit on their phones or on video games. So that's my job, is getting those kids outside in the environment. So is there any questions on this?
When is your trip?
It'll be November 7th and 8th in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Okay, questions? This is for information. It will be moved, if there's no objection, to our mid-month meeting for a vote. And do you have this in your budget?
Yes, and actually it'll only cost, it is in our budget, we did budget for it since I did complete my environmental educator certificate. We're not having to pay that out of our budget this year, me going to different workshops and classes. So we included this in our budget, and it'll only cost $400. And that's for travel, hotel, and the 1 or 2 meals. That is not included in my registration.
I'd like to commend you on your certification so far, and any education that you can gain is a plus for the county.
Yes.
So with that being said, this item be moved to the mid-month meeting for action.
Okay.
Any questions, Mr. Carter? Anybody else? Thank
I
you.
commend your enthusiasm of wanting to go, because as you get later in your career, you're going to be like, oh no, do I have to go?
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea.
You, Heather?
April, that'll be moved to the mid-month. Item 4 under Section D is our legal eagle, Heather Klein.
So we had a work session where we took a look at our current code of ethics. Multiple comments were made about having the ability to censure, and that we should have a procedure to handle that. So I went back and looked at a lot of different documents, including the state's model code. There are a lot of counties and towns or cities that have a code of ethics. Everyone does, but I wanted to look at specific ones that might have included a procedure for a censure policy. Did find a lot, but unfortunately, our state law does not really offer us much. There's not really a process other than just censure. That's it. There's nothing else. Now, Commissioner John did bring up a motion, which is a legal proceeding to be able to remove a commissioner. The problem with that is it's very untried. There was just that one case in 2013, and you need in place a policy to begin with for censure before then you could go to that next step. So I think that the recommendation will be, we have a work session coming up on the 7th at 4 o'clock, and this is the topic, and what my intention is to have the model so that you can look at it, make comments on it, and then maybe move forward with adopting a formal policy. I just want you to be aware that even with a formal policy, it has really no effect other than censure. That's the procedure. You're gonna choose that procedure on how to do that, but that the ultimate effect is just a censure.
Thank you. Any questions? Greg?
No.
Timmy?
No.
Michelle? John? Okay, thank you for your report. And I believe Mr. Carter, any comment? And I believe that, Heather, you're up again.
So I think we've mentioned this in regards to the jail meals, if the county takes over preparation of the jail meals. In that, we've looked at whether or not, or the availability for the county, if we're going to prepare those meals and have a place in a kitchen for this, that what else could we do with that kitchen? The county cannot be a for-profit facility. So the availability of being able to do additional meals, it could be for other nonprofits or organizations for which the county provides financing. So we could do that for, I think it would be the Council on Aging, group homes, something along those lines. However, the county could not do anything in preparation of meals for another for-profit agency. And we knew that, but that's just reiterated that it's not a for-profit venture for the county. So it would only be something that was either in county, handled by, financing by the county, something along those lines, nonprofit for us.
Any questions? Questions? Mr. Carter, comment? Okay, is that it, Heather? Thank you. Under Section D, Item 6, Laurel Springs Fire Department, Vice Chair Michelle Luffman has a report.
Yes, I've been visiting the fire departments, and when I visited Laurel Springs, I always ask, what are you guys doing? What's going on? What are your needs? So on and so forth. I was not aware of this, but Laurel Springs Fire Department we have 2 rescue squads in the county. We have the ambulance service, but we have the Alleghany Rescue Squad, but Laurel Springs is also our rescue squad, and they cover that end of the county. So they also get the smallest amount of fire tax, which is $73,000. I mean, that's just their demographics. There's not as many people that live in Laurel Springs, pay as much taxes, so on and so forth. So they were sharing with me that some of their problems come in to play when they go out on calls and they use supplies up, they use fuel up, different things. So it is cutting into their budget and their needs by having to be the rescue squad out there too. And I just think we need to look at something about maybe helping them out in next year's budget on getting them a little bit more money to help out to replace some of their supplies and fuel with Laurel Springs.
Questions? John?
None.
I
Greg?
thought we helped them a little bit anyway on their ambulance, don't we?
Yeah.
We already helped them on the ambulance.
I think we did this.
Yeah.
10,000, we gave them what they asked for.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ashe County helped them quite a bit, so.
I guess, too, probably needs to be pointed out that we did ask them if their tax, that was sufficient for their funding, and they were good with that, but.
I'm just pointing out that in the future, they were just kind of prepping me to let me know that it was going to be a budgetary request every year I'm not saying that they're asking for more right now because it got covered in the budget, but they're just saying that it's going to be an ongoing cost.
I agree. They do support the ambulance. I didn't realize that either until we went through the budget, but they'd have a full-blown, almost like an EMS up there, and we had never helped with that until this first budget, I believe. So yeah, I think we are aware, or some of us are anyway.
Mr. Carter, you had a comment, or, okay.
I've said it.
Anything else, Michelle?
No, I was just sharing their concern, so.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the jobs of the commissioners is they serve on these committees is to report back to the full board, what that committee, what those people are talking about. Keep us all informed because it's hard for one commissioner to be on every committee there is. That concludes Section D. We move to Section E. These are general business for action. These will all require a vote. And first thing, item 1 is nominating committee, and that's Michelle Luffman and Timmy Evans. And I don't know who's the chair of that. Timmy, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, last meeting, we recommended they had recommendations of 3 members to add to their board, and one of them was Tracy Bottomley, Bill Hash, and Cindy Atwood. And we agreed that these recommendations were good, and that I'll make a motion that we implement that now.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those, Cindy, you got your head down. What's that mean?
You're next, Cindy.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. I didn't know if you were trying to hide or, okay, thank you. Then anything else under nominating committee? Timmy? Okay. We'll go to item 2, jury commission reappointment, and that would be County Manager Michael Carter.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I hate to pick on her, but she's in the audience, and that was the recommendation that I provided. And just to verify, Ms. Atwood, I'm of the impression that you are willing to continue to serve on this.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0, April. Thank you. Item 3 was tabled to a further meeting. We go to item 4, April Ham. It's a line item transfer.
We do have an additional 90 South Main project. We just need to transfer money into last year's budget to cover this, because anything that's dated May or June come out of the.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second?
He seconded.
Got a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Likewise for a no vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. April, you're back up again for the fire tax.
This is a budget amendment. This is to rearrange the funds, basically, in the fire tax fund, which is a separate fund. The fire tax in. This is to do the final payout for last fiscal year. This is a revolving fund. We're zeroing it out again. We're getting to that process of zeroing it out because the contingency was done away with last year by the.
Motion
You've
to
heard the
approve.
explanation. I need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion and a second. Ready? We have a motion and a second for a line item transfer of the fire tax. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. April, there again.
County received, this is called Local Assistance and Tribal Council Funds, I believe is the official. Actually, it's coming from U.S. Treasury. We received $50,000 of it in fiscal year '23. We're receiving $50,000 additional this fiscal. What we'd like to do is use part of that initial $50,000 for the roof repair on 96.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Give April a second to get called up. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Likewise, motion carries 5-0, April. Thank you. That gets us out of Section E, general business. Now we go to F. That would be county manager's comments.
I've got a couple this morning. First one is I'd like to congratulate George also on your retirement. Certainly appreciate everything you've done. You go up there, he's always got a smile on his face, doesn't matter what the day is, so I appreciate that, George. Congratulations. Also to Chelsea, congratulations to her. I know she kind of hit and run, but proud of that accomplishment as well. And that leads me into my next one, is our staff. And I know you guys have seen this, but we have a lot of good staff people here. We have a lot of people that stand at that podium and do what they're supposed to do. And one of the things that I've encouraged along the way, I call it podium time. Whenever we had department head meetings, I kind of get people used to that podium time, because that's where they need to be. That's where they need to be telling you guys what's going on. And I just can't tell you how proud I am of those individuals that put in that day's work and that extra mile and stand at that podium and give you guys information. That makes my job a lot easier, so I appreciate that. The next item is there's been a lot of talk about economic development here lately. And there's been some changes and some opportunities that have presented, and I know that we've talked about tabling some of our job description a little earlier. I think this is a good opportunity for the county. I know that there's a lot of downside or negativity, depending on how you view it, but as the county, it's something that we're tasked with. And I think we need to really look at it. I think we need to review it, assess it, come up with a plan, at least in a position category. I think we'll talk about that probably in the months to come. But, having done that for a while, I understand it. It's not that we're naked down here. Well, I understand it. And I just want you guys to know that when it comes time, we'll have a good discussion about how we proceed forward with that. The next one's kind of my own. Tomorrow, August the 22nd, I believe, if my calendar's right, be the 1-year anniversary since I had an unfortunate accident. And I'll tell you, the year's been interesting, to say the least, but it's been a good year. And what I'd like to do is I know some of the board members have changed since that initial accident, so I don't want to not include those before, but the board as a whole has been very supportive of me during that time. And, you know, I remember it about every day, just to be honest with you. There's a flashback that hits me about every day over it. But the board has been really good, and the staff, you know, I got a lot of good support from the staff. It's just phenomenal on how the reception has been back. Now, granted, as everybody knows, not everybody shares the same type of reception, but for the people that I work with every day and the people that I work for every day, I certainly appreciate all the help and support. You hear it a lot, or I hear it a lot. Local, local, local. And I get that. I get that entirely. I'm not a local. But the reception and the support that I've gotten from this body and from the team members here within the county, it makes you feel local, and it makes you feel like family. And, you know, I understand the concept behind identifying being local, and I respect and appreciate that. But there's some good people outside that local area, too, that put in a good day's work. I think they're referenced as outsiders. I think I've heard that term being used before. So from the outsider in me, I appreciate all the local support that has been given to me. And all I've got.
Thank you. We'll start with Greg. Commissioner comments?
No, I just want to tell Michael I appreciate what he does, and you don't have to be an outsider, you can move.
I appreciate that.
Timmy?
Yes, I just want to add what Michael said is, of course, I wasn't involved that much, didn't really know about the accident that much other than the beginning stages of it until I was sworn in here. But I do understand the importance of having Michael in this position, and I do appreciate it. Local or not, I consider him as one of the Alleghany family because of, and I've got to spend more time than a lot of folks have because of budget stuff, and I'm more of a watcher, listener, learner type, and I do appreciate, as far as my part's concerned, you are Alleghany family. So I do want to talk about something that I tasked myself with last meeting. I went to a TDA meeting, again, trying to learn, listen, try to hear all aspects of people's opinions and thoughts. And I found that setting to be, they were very polite to me. They went through a process of processing some grants, and most of those grants they approved had to do with our fairgrounds, a lot of activity at the fairgrounds, and then they to some degree approved our speaker system, which is a pretty big chunk of money. I see them actually, through the numbers I was looking at, they're getting close to, if they continue like they are, they're getting close to giving out more money than they're taking in. So from all points, at everything that I seen there, they were doing everything they're supposed to do. And I see a great opportunity, because when you look at the occupancy tax numbers that's coming in and as they grow every month, I see a great opportunity of working with those folks. And again, they re-emphasize for us county to present them with priorities that we may have. And I think maybe that's been a little bit of the disconnect of maybe just talking about what they're not doing and possibly trying to come up with things that we need. And I think we have a great opportunity to work with them, make things much better, whether it's groups coming in doing shows at the fairgrounds or lots of different areas. I do think the TDA is a very appropriate place for the chamber to get money because it is sort of tied in, so that's another good place, which I don't approve that. I mean, they have to approve monies, but they have been supporting that. So at this time, I do not support nowhere, no how, trying to change that over there. They're doing what they need to do, and I support them, and I appreciate them, because the things that I've seen is they're doing what they need to do. And of course, April she sits in those meetings every single time, and and the other thing is, I thought our county commissioner meetings were long sometimes. I was there almost 3 hours through that meeting. So those members of there, they were all business people. And I see a lot of opportunity at the county as a whole, because I got studying about that and thought about it a lot after that meeting. Is this county right now is due to a lot of Michael's direction, April's good work. We are in a unique position, I believe, that we haven't been in years, to where there's possibilities for, number one is securing, making things better for our employees, whether it's benefits, trying to make that better, which we've worked on that some, and better wages, we're going to be competitive with other counties, because we do have good employees and we want to keep them. And there's an opportunity to gain more good employees because of where we're at. So we have these opportunities if we, and all of us 5 commissioners do that, if we work together and find these opportunities. Not just that, the fairgrounds, I can see good things over there. That's a possibility, upgrading that. And I'm not talking about just throwing money at different places. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being strategic and being smart about it. But we have opportunities right now that this county has not had in a long time. And I just feel like that is a major positive. And it's just a matter of us all 5 trying to find some common ground to forward that. And I do feel like these groups, whether it's TDA, we have not just a right to ask hard questions, but a responsibility to ask hard questions, but we do it respectfully. And we expect the same respect from those folks. And that mutual respect will go a long ways. And, I just see a lot of opportunities where, different groups. I know we're trying to work through the fairground stuff, trying to get more structure in some cases, starting those conversations. But I look at it as all positive. I think, everybody might not agree with all of our ideas, but we take all the good ideas from each one of us and try to put it to good use and work with these folks. And I see a lot of good things in the future. And that's just my thoughts. That's all I got.
Thank you, Timmy.
You're welcome.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the items that I've been contacted with is we've got a need for access to the river so that people can canoe and kayak down the river. Now, unfortunately, whenever they contacted me, they wanted the county to open up more access areas. We don't have that many. Most of it's going to be on private property. So if you're a landowner and you've got land beside the river, you've got a golden opportunity. If you want to let people come in, have access with their canoes and kayaks, charge them a little bit, that's money in your coffers. It is becoming more and more a thing to do. We see them coming through Alleghany County all the time with their canoes and kayaks on top of their vehicle. Unfortunately, they don't stop. They just keep on going, West Jefferson and around in there. So don't complain. You've got an opportunity, tap into it there. It's there. Of course, if we have access, I don't know if, except going up Pie Factory Hill, where we took over those houses and knocked them down after the earthquake. But the access going for the river, I don't believe they'd be interested in it. That's the only one that the county has that I'm aware of. I'd like to give a Bravo Zulu. That is a call out for emergency management. You don't know how to plan for emergencies, and who would have thought that we would have to worry about 400 gallons of paint going into the river? But prompt attention, action from the fire departments, volunteer fire departments, everyone involved. It was extensive, long-term. The highway patrol was out there directing traffic for quite a while, but good response, good response. Nice to know it's working, so everyone involved, good to go. Now, one of the things that we are going to be talking about, and you've heard it over and over and over again, is economic development. I have been pressing, saying that we need a county position for economic development. I think we've got a golden opportunity now, since we are looking for an assistant county manager. Now, I'm used to, in my majority of my adult life, being in a position with an organization where if you lost the leader, you had someone that would step in. In that capacity, you knew someone was going to replace you. So we always planned for it. And this is something that this county has got to do. I'm talking about an assistant county manager that is an assistant county manager. Someone that if the county manager is incapacitated out, they can pick up and take the reins. This is a golden opportunity where we can do this, separate the jobs, separate position for the clerk to the county commissioners and also to the county manager, so that administratively that position would assist us and the county manager. An assistant county manager, we can give the additional responsibility for economic development. If something happens, they can step in on a temporary basis until the commissioners can decide what needs to be done. As the county manager said, tomorrow is 1 year. This is reality. It happens. That picture up on the wall, that's what happened there. He was the county manager. If I remember correctly, a car accident took him from us. If we do economic development, though, this county has got to pull up his britches and figure out what they're going to do. In the past, we've had opportunities for economic development. Interstate 77 was coming through Alleghany County. A small group got it moved. Nobody knew it in the county until after it was done. Boom. Interstate 74 coming through Alleghany County. Nobody knew about it until after it was moved. Mount Airy ought to give us a Christmas card every year thanking us for moving Interstate 74 and 77 so that they could use those corridors for economic development. Small groups of people that want to be big fish in a small pond. That's fine. That's my assessment. the dam. They were going to dam a new river. Did not support it, did not want it to happen, but that was an economic opportunity. General Electric came to Alleghany County and stood right there in front of the county commissioners and said, "We will buy that building." Ask Roger Sturgill. Roger Sturgill lives up there on the hill on Grandview Drive. Roger was a supervisor in General Electric aircraft in Wilmington, North Carolina. I just put in an 800 megahertz trunking system in GE Nuclear, which was right next door, and they asked me if I'd be interested in putting a system up here. Roger wanted it, he could walk to work. I wanted it because it had been an $800,000 system and I was making 10%. Daggone right. And I could come up and spend a little time while I designed the system. Nope, turned it down. Where did it go? West Jefferson. General Electric right now is recruiting at New River and Cherry Point any Marine that wants to come up here and go to work at $25 an hour starting, full benefits, profit sharing, everything. They are so satisfied with the workforce in West Jefferson that they are moving work from Wilmington, North Carolina to West Jefferson because the quality is better than what it is down there, and it's a non-union workforce. General Electric has designated a $50 million expansion for that plant. They are begging people to come up there and go to work. And that could have been there. And the commissioners turned it down. And I asked, because I had gone to school with the chair at that time, he and I had been together all through elementary school, high school, and I asked him, why? And his response was, whenever those big companies leave, it hurts too hard. Ashe County appreciates it. We ought to get a Christmas card from Ashe County. But these are the opportunities that we've passed up in the past. I look out here and I say, do we really want to do economic development in Alleghany County? You've got signs on the side of the road, $16 an hour, begging for people to work. Man, they ain't going to work. They can't fulfill it. We've got a sandwich shop that doesn't open up on the weekends because they can't find staff to make sandwiches. Well, this country is in a heck of a daggone shape whenever we've lost the pride in the work ethic. I'd love to see Alleghany County prosper, to bring more jobs in, but we got to realize that we've got to put out the welcome mat whenever we do that. We've got to show a desire. Now just think, you want to come to Alleghany County and you call Grants up. Grants is going to tell them, you know what they're going to tell them? Yep, they gave us a $50,000 grant to come in. It wasn't economically viable. We had 2 months to fulfill the timeline, and they would not waiver the 2 months. We had to pay the money back. Now, if you are going to bring a business into Alleghany County and you hear that, or is that going to happen? Nope. It gets to my last. Lisa Bottomley had a thankless job because she got an old jarhead that was watching and demanding. Yeah, I demand. My Marines tell me that I've had a couple of them, whenever they found out I was a county commissioner, I'd tell them to go look at the meetings. And their comment was, well, you've mellowed a little bit. You expect a lot, you want a lot, and if you don't press, you're not going to get there. She did an outstanding job, considering the handicaps that she has, or had. I wish her the best in her new position. I hope she is successful at it, and I thank her for the efforts that she made in the position that she had here. She is under the impression that my comments on Facebook were directed towards her. Spent 26 years of my life defending the Constitution of the United States. I never used a name on that Facebook comment. It cost me. She thinks it was directed towards her. It was not. It was not directed towards anyone. If it had been, I'd have used a name. So I wish her the best in her future job, and hopefully we can move on now. That's all the comments I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Michelle?
I want to start out by saying thank you to George. I've had my family has had the unfortunate need for George to come over to the farm before, so I think it's really underestimated when a person shows up to help you and they're calm and they're reassuring, and you know, in a bad situation, you know, you were there, and I just want to personally say thank you for my family for that. So I also want to say, if you haven't been up to Woodruff Fields, you need to go up there. We have a better looking football field than a whole lot of colleges have. That field is absolutely gorgeous, and it was paid for by some grant money, and I think it's time that Allegany's getting a little bit of that grant money. So anyway, it's absolutely stunning field, so I'm glad that our kids have that to play on. I also want to say, being on the Fairgrounds Committee, we have the county fair starting Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come out. There's livestock exhibitions. There's anybody can join in. You know, bring your things up there on Wednesday and enter them in the fair. There's going to be rides, games, entertainment, a rodeo. You know, I got tickled this weekend listening to my 22-year-old son talk to my mother about, she was grilling him a little bit about, we saw a sign up for the fair in Galax, and she said, oh, I remember the first year I talked you into taking one of my tomatoes and entering it in the fair, and you won a ribbon, and the next year we had the car loaded down with everything. We had grass, we had hay, we had everything, because he liked getting those ribbons when he was a little fella. He was like, yeah, I remember that. I've still got all my ribbons. So, you know, the fair is a time when you make memories with your kids and your family. So, you know, there's a lot of people that work really hard to put this thing on. Go out there and enjoy it. It's very affordable. The exhibitions are free, and it's just part of living in the country. So go out there and enjoy the old-fashioned, old-timey fair. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll just start out, George. You've done a great job all these years, and we're still not finished with you. You still got some work to do. So we appreciate you. And Michelle and I are on the Fairgrounds Committee, and it's going to be a big 4 days coming up. I encourage everybody to go out and use it as much as they can. I think the weather looks good. It's a good opportunity for the little kids, especially with all the rides, and there's going to be a lot of food and a lot of fun. Earlier, I talked about the housing in Alleghany County, and the reason almost every meeting we have, some department references the lack of housing in the county. So I would ask Mr. Carter if there's any way that through any of our departments, the tax office or whatever, to try to identify housing that is not being utilized in the county for whatever reason, and what people consider as usable housing. as to the quality of the house or the dwelling, the security, if it's a rental or if it's a purchase or if it's a rent to buy or whatever. It just, when all this started coming up, I started counting these different buildings, different housings that are vacant. And it really amazed me how many, just in the short distance I travel to the town, how many are out there. I think I hope everybody's seen the Veterans Park, how the county has done a great job about clearing out the weeds, making more land usable especially at the Veterans Park. And I'm hoping that that'll continue and we can get some fill dirt and some grass before we have Veterans Day in October, when we are scheduled at this point to Charters of Freedom, have that venue opened up to the public. We've done a lot of work at the fairgrounds. We've done a lot of work at the Lions Club. But as I look at it today, all this stuff's growing right back up. So we need to have some aggressive maintenance at these facilities. And I know that Randy is shorthanded right now, but I think we need to find a way to help him if at all possible. One other thing that I think the commissioners are trying to get a visit to Avery County to look at their swimming pool facilities, and I would ask the commissioners to give me, those that can attend, to give me 2 dates in mid-September, and then for Mr. Carter or April, whoever, try to set up a visit with their county manager in Avery County. It's just about an all-day trip. It's 5 or 6 hours, I think, the last time we went. I think it would be eye-opening, and it's give us some more information on the proposed pool project. With that being said, Heather, do you have any comments? Michael's already been through his. April? Any other comments from the board?
Hold that yellow 15-second sign up.
To Bobby?
Yeah. Hold that up right there, Bobby.
If nothing else, I will.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Let's
Tim.
don't forget what April's having to do right now, and I know we don't forget, but I don't want to take it for granted. I know she's wearing a bunch of hats right now, and so want to say we really appreciate it, April. That's a lot. And I know Michael won't put more on you than you can handle.
She doesn't have to go fishing on Saturday. She can come in and work.
Fishing time.
Yeah.
So, April is doing, I think, probably 3 jobs at one time right now. So we do appreciate you. That being said, nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all. Now, we do know that our first meeting in September is on Tuesday, not on Monday.
Secret.
Yeah.
Hold that sign up.